Wherever you are in the world, I hope you are sitting comfortably because it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you here to this broadcast to the welcome return of the Lamborghini The Real Race Super Trofeo Esports season. We're at the beautiful Imola circuit in a few short moments' time. Some V12, 10 power even, is going to be taking place on this track, and to guide you through all of the drama and all of the action will be myself, Paul Jeffrey, once again, and I'm delighted to welcome alongside me again in the commentary box the legend that is Mr. Chaz Draycott.
You're too kind, Paul, too kind. Yes, hello everybody. Welcome back to another amazing season of the Real Race Super Trofeo Esports. It's going to be a hell of a campaign. Really looking forward to this once again. We're here for the EU qualifiers that get everybody through, the EU regional finals, I should say, that get everybody through. We're going to have 4 races where 4 drivers go through from each. And to be honest, Paul, with the fighting and the battling that we saw last season, I'm so excited to see how this pans out.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, Chaz, we've got 24 cars taking part in this one. We'll look at the format in more detail in a few moments' time. But the name of the game is to go out there and get in that top 4 and progress through. Dario Imola last season was our overall champion. He was an absolute superstar in the series. And we've got names, again, we'll look at these in more detail, Chaz, but we've got some new names, some up-and-coming drivers, and some real established superstars. It's going to be absolutely incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of the best things about these competitions is you do get a sort of glimpse back at drivers that have been in it before. So we've got a little bit of insight as to how they did last time, and if they just fell short, there's that sort of potential fairy tale of second time round. They can just go one step better and get through right to the end. Or you get drivers that we haven't heard of before, that have just taken to the competition straight away and really burst through the doors, and really everybody's sort of taking a step back and gone, wow, this guy's quick. Like, where's he been hiding, So it's a bit of everything from the drivers involved in these competitions, and it's that sort of element of surprise that we always look forward to.
And that's why we love what we do. Now, seasoned viewers of Lamborghini and our esports output will know you, Chaz, will know me. But there's a new name that I want to welcome to the competition this year, and that is, of course, our much valued partner, Mosa Racing. It's incredible to have Mosa on board with us. Anybody who's used any of their equipment in the world of virtual will know just how good it is. And Chaz, brilliant to see them partner up for the 2024 Lamborghini The Real Race Super Trofeo Esports.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I say bursting through the doors, bursting onto the scene. Mosa did just that in the last couple of years. I actually was given one of the test units a while ago, actually, for some content of the DD16 wheel that they have. And my God, it was the first direct drive I'd ever had in my house, and it is an incredibly immense bit of kit. But it's the wheel rims that get me. They've got this forged carbon on them. They've got incredibly beautiful buttons, and the feel. You and I, Paul, are quite similar in this way. That a really nice feeling button when you click it, and it's got a really satisfying noise to it, and really clunky, flappy paddles. It just feels amazing, and the quality of the stuff is just amazing. It blew me away because it was such an upgrade from everything I'd had before.
Yeah, could not agree more. And on that topic, if you're not familiar with the world of Mosa, let's take a quick look at some of the good things that they do in sim racing. I just check. Drool managed to get rid of that one. Very nice. Yeah, beautiful gear. Really big, warm welcome to Mosa and Chaz. This year, the competition's going to be even harder than ever before. We've got some real challenging races and some hoops for our drivers to jump through, don't we, before we can get on site for the grand finale.
Yeah, definitely. And, like I said before, we've got the four European qualifiers that we've got coming up. It's the start of the competition. It's effectively the start of the broadcasted ones anyway. And we've got an amazing calendar for these drivers, starting off this evening here at Imola, legendary circuit. I mean, it produced a fantastic race just last week, didn't it? And we've also got Spa coming up as well. Spa-Francorchamps, another legendary track where, to be fair, GT cars and Spa, they just go hand in hand, don't they? The Red Bull Ring, which I'm looking forward to as well. Red Bull Ring is a huge challenge in its own right. There's not many corners around that place, but there's so many places to go off at the same time and get track limits warnings. So we will keep an eye on that, because let's not forget the stewarding in this as well is really top-notch. The guys do not take any rubbish. And then we, of course, finished like we did last time out at Barcelona, Catalonia, a circuit that you and I both love, Paul. We've both had amazing experiences there, and to be fair, it's just a great venue for it. It's an all-rounder sort of circuit, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a brilliant track, and it's a very different circuit. The competition's so hot, you've got to be in the top four, etc. And then we go through to a grand finale live on site at the beautiful Jerez circuit, where I've never been and always wanted to. But to give you a little bit more detail, because Chaz and I have just flown over that real quick, we've got a little explainer even, put my teeth in, that'll tell you all about how you can participate in this competition and potentially have Chaz and I talking over your performance in one of these qualifying races. So let's have a quick look at what the format is all about in 2024.
The Real Race Super Trofeo Esports is here for its 5th edition. Open to drivers from Europe, NALA region and APAC region, the Real Race Super Trofeo Esports promises an exciting and unforgettable show. In Europe, drivers will qualify at 4 different tracks: Imola, Red Bull Ring, Spa and Barcelona. The top drivers from each session will move onto the qualification races together with the wildcards. European drivers who finish in the top 4 during the qualification races will compete in the regional final at the famous Jerez de la Frontera circuit. In North America, Austin qualification begins at Watkins Glen on September 25th and September 27th, a battles for the APAC region. In both of these regions, the top 24 drivers from qualification will progress directly to their own respective online qualification and finals races. The NALA final will be on Sunday, October 13th, and 3 days later, on Wednesday, the 15th, will be the APAC final. European drivers will compete for the chance to win the overall championship and earn a spot in the Automobile Lamborghini Esports team. This final opportunity is open exclusively to European drivers at the Lamborghini World Finals in Jerez de la Frontera. Can't wait to see you guys on track.
A wonderful explanation there by Davidson. It makes it sound really simple, doesn't it, to be fair, Paul? And I'm sure if we tried to read it off the document, it would just make it sound more and more complicated every single time. But that's why we're here. That's what we're good at up here in the commentary box. But still, it's a great competition in the way that it's so accessible, isn't it? And that's one of the beautiful things about sim racing and having this element to it. It is so accessible for everybody to have a sort of even playing field. Everybody's got that fair chance to come in and show us what they've got.
Yeah, and of course, the big important thing, as well as the spirit of great competition and the excitement of Chaz and I talking over the performance, the chance that these drivers are racing for is to join the Automobile Lamborghini Esports team, to become professional, paid esports driver for Lamborghini. You get a load of cool shirts and all that sort of stuff. You have to develop the Italian cool beard, of course, and then you get to represent Lamborghini across the world. I mean, we say it all the time, and it's true, but it means more than just the words. It's money can't buy, Chaz, isn't it? It's an opportunity to change your life.
Absolutely, yeah. It's an honour, if anything. You're carrying the Lamborghini brand with you. You are trusted with that branding and with their name on your shoulders. And to have that is just a massive, massive deal for the drivers. And to be honest with you, I don't know how they cope with the pressure, to be honest. I really don't. I could race in one of my own little sort of leagues that I do for fun, and I still like shaking my boots when I get to the grid. These guys have got a lot riding on them, and that's what we've got to remember throughout the races as well, isn't it? The fact that there is so much behind all of this.
Well, that's the big thing, isn't it? It's the pressure cooker, and Imola is one of those circuits where the pressure's just ramped up so high. It's obviously a permanent racing facility, but in a GT car, in a Lamborghini Super Trofeo that we're going to be racing in, the Huracan Evo 2, very, very difficult to pass. Very, very aggressive you've got to be as a driver. And Dario Yamulo, that we mentioned, Chaz, earlier at the top of the show, won the competition last time, and he has taken the time to sit down and just talk us through a lap of this beautiful circuit to give you at home a little bit of insight as to what it takes to go quickly as a professional esport driver for Lamborghini.
So, we are into the main straight around Imola for a tutorial lap, and we're going into turn 1, very heavy braking there, second gear, we want to use all the inside curb, also the right one, and also here the left one, in order to optimize the space that we have and have a great exit. Then we're going into the Gilles Villeneuve, very aggressive on curb, especially here the right one. We want to use all the space that we have in exit, and we're going into the Tosa, a tricky braking, and we want to be as tight as possible into the inside curb, nice and smooth on the throttle in order to have a great exit. And we're going into the trickiest part of the track. First of all, we have the Piratella here, our left-hander, where we want to use all the space that we have both on entry and exit. And we're going into the Aquamirale, fourth gear in the entry, be careful there, we want to be into this inside curb in order to optimize the exit. And then we go into the last part of the track, Variante Alta, we want to be very aggressive on curbs, especially the left one, in order to optimize our exit. A mini straight, and then we go into the last 2 corner, the Rivazza. Downhill braking, so we have to be careful, 100 meters, be very tight into the inside curb, we want to use all the space there, also there, very tight, use all the space, and then we're going to the main straight again, and this is a lap around Imola. Can't wait to see you on track.
Not a bad lap there from Dario Yamulo. Thank you very much. That boy knows how to shake a stick at a racetrack, doesn't he, Chaz?
Absolutely does, yeah. There's so many lively corners of this circuit, and the confidence that he carries through some of the chicanes and over the curbs as well, you know, that's a real stinger here at Imola, is the fact that because there are so many chicanes, there's so many chances for you to sort of nip outside of track limits, just run a little bit wide, maybe take the mick a little bit on the inside of the curbs. They have these humongous sausage curbs in most places at Imola, and it really can catch a driver out, especially in low-slung GT cars like this as well. They really will just bounce off them. So I think people are going to have to be maybe taking a bit of risk tonight to get some decent positions out of it, but at the same time, you've got to be so careful of them curbs. So we're going to see some drivers torn in their mindsets of how they approach this evening.
And such is the eternal drama of Imola, isn't it? It's one of those circuits where you've got to take risks. You've got to be in the top 4, and there are 24 drivers taking part in qualifying right this very moment in time. In fact, these 24 drivers are coming up on your screen now. Anybody who's familiar with esports in the world of Lamborghini will recognise some of these names. Michael Romagnoli, a driver we've seen a lot of. But there are also, Chaz, some new names for us to contend with. It's going to be fascinating to see how they get on.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just a list of Italian drivers that we have either. The Turkish driver Kaan Bekiroglu that we were looking at earlier on makes the list, as well as the Finnish driver in the name of Nico Kumpu as well. We've also got Miguel Valiente from Spain. So there's a very interesting sort of array of drivers from all over Europe here as well. It's predominantly an Italian turnout, but at the end of the day, anybody could still take the crown. It doesn't really add in extra points if they're from the Squadra Corsa's home country as such.
Absolutely, and now we are on the grid. So qualifying's been completed, and Luca Lozio is the man that was quickest, as well as quickest in the qualification of this session, also the qualification to get into the race. Marco Lomi and Michael Romagnoli are second and third position, 2 drivers we know a lot about. Just Perec is in 4th place, and then just behind him, we've got a gaggle of drivers headed up by that man who I've just lost on my timing screen.
Akinci. Sorry.
Akinci, there we go. And then Baglani in 6th position. Grillo 7th. Farina, that's a name from back in the day of Formula 1. Any relation? Who knows? Tomasetto in 9th and Sinotti in 10th.
Indeed, and then we get to Pacazocco. He's a driver that we had with us last season, actually, Luigi Pacazocco. Then Kabir in 12th position ahead of David Kolocai in the number 18 machine. Pagliai is 14th ahead of Tosato in 15th place. Car number 7, Doppio, is a bit further down than where he qualified before this event in 16th. Then we have Bonsignore in 17th ahead of Senatore 18th. Valiente 19th and Capera rounding out the top 20 cars.
Yep, in 21st position is Bassi, and then as we saw in 22nd position, car number 21, there we see it on your screen, Compu, just going through for their formation lap. One of the slowest laps, well, the slowest lap, Chaz, that any of these drivers will do all race long, but arguably one of the most important, the formation lap, as we build up to the start of this race.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit nerve-wracking now as well for the drivers. It's all suddenly, you know, they've been doing a lot of laps around here to qualify for this event, but it's suddenly going to get very real right now, even more than the name itself, the Real Race Super Trofeo Esports. It's more real than it will ever be, but it is the number 1 machine of Luca Losio that leads us around. Important to remind our viewers as well that the numbers of the cars are basically their seed numbers, as they're called. So it's basically the number that, well, of the position in which they qualified to get here. So Losio was the fastest, Parek was second, and then Lomi was third. That's why I mentioned a moment ago, we've got Doppio down there in 16th place in car number 7. He was clearly much higher up the order when it came to his hot laps, but he hasn't been able to turn the wick up quite to that level tonight so far.
And that just goes to show, doesn't it, when the pressure of the event comes into the fore, this is when you really find out what you're made from. As a driver, quick bit of housekeeping before we go green flag for everybody watching at home. This will be a 60-minute race. There is no mandatory pit stop required. So this is going to be a dash to the flag for the 22 drivers that will be taking the start of this race. What we need to achieve as a driver is we need to achieve a top 4. That will get us through to the grand final. If we're not in the top 4, we've got to start that qualification process all over again for the next race at Spa-Francorchamps. So big chance for a big result, big chance to go home very disappointed indeed at the conclusion.
Yeah, and I think that's another important aspect of this as well. You know, we were saying about how it tests the drivers and they have to really show their mettle to be a part of the team through this really tough format. And it is the fact that, you know, I compared it to karting last season, and I will do again, is that a lot of the time in karting, you either win the race or you don't. You know, you're either first place or that's it, you know, and no one really pays any attention to the timing sheets below first. Here, you've literally got those first 4 cars. There's no sort of consolation to being 5th, 6th, 7th or 8th. It doesn't weigh in. It doesn't change anything for the rest of the competition. You're either in or you're not.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's going to be a lot of drivers very, very keen indeed to do something very major in these opening few corners. The first lap, we all know it so well, is the best opportunity to gain places, to get a cheap overtake, and it will be absolutely no different here again, Chaz.
Absolutely. Coming to the line now, though, Paul, the nerves will be rising for all of these drivers, and Luca Losio is going to be the one to pull the trigger and get the field up to speed from the left-hand side. Really not sure who to keep our eyes on here, though. It's very unpredictable at this early stage. Some of these drivers are going to really surprise us, I think, in the opening couple of laps. We'll have to just see if they can keep it together.
Right, let's find out then. 60 minutes of racing to kickstart the 2024 season for Lamborghini, the Real Race Super Trofeo Esports is about to commence. Luca Losio from Marco Lome, Michael Romagnoli and Just Parek are in the top 4 positions as things stand. The lights go green and we are off for the rundown into the Tamburello chicane. Good start from Losio. Lome has a look to the outside. 22 cars all fanning out as one, but so far very clean to his opening few corners.
Looks like Baccaglini had a tiny bit of contact there with Grillo, I think it was, the 20 and the 7 getting together just on the entrance to the chicane. Another little tap in the background as there, I think together was Farina and Tomasetto, just banging doors slightly, but really tidy stuff from Luca Losio at the start of this one. Marco Lomi, like say, Paul, he had a look, he tried to unnerve him that little bit, but he didn't take too many risks. It's literally the first corner of the competition. We ride on board now in the windscreen camera of Marco Lomi's number 3 Huracan Evo 2, and what a great racket. I mean, we're going to say it a lot this season, but what a great racket that 5.2 litre V10 makes. It's just, I can't, there's no broadcastable words for it.
Absolutely beautiful stuff. And Marco Lomi, much like a ballerina, is on his tippy toes in these opening few corners, really trying hard. There is the onboard camera for the Italian driver. He's keeping very firmly in the wheel tracks. Luca Lozio ahead, shows his nose into the chicane. That ain't no passing overtaking opportunity. Lome very wisely decides don't want to go side by side at this early junction. Michael Romagnoli just behind, keeping a watching brief as well. As we ride on board now with car number 3, the 3rd seed, but second in the race, Marco Lome. There's some concentrated eyes, Chaz Draycott. He fancies this race lead.
Yeah, I was really surprised that he actually even bothered to try and have a look into the chicane there, because you get that wrong and Romagnoli is going to be all over you and he's going to be through. Luckily, he's got a little bit of pressure from behind from just Perec as well. And then Akinci in 5th position. Not too much in terms of position swapping in the opening lap. Everybody's in flying formation, just taking a bit of time to assess where the rest of the drivers are around them. I think there was a move further back, either Grillo or Farina. Just having a quick look down the inside, and oh, there goes Grillo. Facing the wrong way, bounces off the side of another car. Not sure if there was initial contact to signify that, whether he lost it on his own, but he's backwards and in the gravel. And the thing is, that can very quickly be your race done, but it's an hour long here, Paul, and we've seen drivers come back from worse.
Yeah, we have, absolutely indeed, and especially if these 4 cars at the front of the field continue to run nose to tail as they do. Lome has a little bit of luck for fresh air. Romagnoli is the car that we're watching at this moment in time. But you can see, Chaz, our front 2 ever so slightly are starting to hold each other up. That's putting Michael Romagnoli under pressure from just Perec behind. So Perec not quite close enough to have a little conversation about overtaking, but certainly keeping a watching brief in these opening few skirmishes.
Yeah, definitely. I think the one in the box seat here is actually going to be Akinci in 5th position, because if he can push hard enough now to close up to the back of just Perec and make him feel a bit of pressure, he may get the hurry up slightly and move forward to Romagnoli, which will have a domino effect. Luca Lozio's just had a really solid sector though, and he's actually opened up a tiny gap to Lome. As down the inside goes Baccaglini in car number 5. Big send in the big pink Huracan, and through he goes past the number 9 of Farina. Very aggressive move, but to be fair, tidy and fair stuff from Farina as well. He left him the room down the inside to get that done. He didn't cause any issues. Francesco certainly got his wits about him, but Lozio, second half of that lap, Paul, he's starting to move away.
Yeah, that's a beautiful second portion of the lap, as you say, really starting to get the hammer down now. Marco Lome has gone from the attacker to the defender. You can see very clearly in his rearview mirror is Michael Romagnoli. Marco Lome, of course, will be wise enough to know it's just the top 4. There are no additional benefits to being higher in that top 4 as long as you are in. The top 4 is what you need, but the closer you start dropping back, the more danger it becomes. Michael Romagnoli, he's almost tasted success so many times, only to have defeat snatched from the jaws of victory in years gone by. So Romagnoli will be ultra aware that things can go wrong in a heartbeat in that number 6 machine. The Italian driver very keen indeed to secure his place in the history books of virtual motorsports.
And that's the thing, you know, you've got some drivers in here that have gotten so close before. They may have been just 1 or 2 places away from doing it before, and they'll maybe have a bit of added pressure on their shoulders because of that as well. Some of them may see it as, oh, well, I didn't beat these guys to the crown last time, but, you know, they're not quite in the same boat as me this time round, you know, so they may feel like some of them have been shifted out the way naturally. That's not always the case, though, because some of the new blood that comes into these series is terrifyingly quick. Romagnoli has been so close, as Paul rightly points out, so we'll keep our eyes on him here and see just what he can do. Looking a little bit further down, we've got Stefano Bonsignore here, 11th place in car number 10. David Coloccia in front of him, he's going well as well. He qualified 18th for this event tonight, but he's up inside the top 10. It's important to note as well, just circling back to what Paul said about being in that top 4, you're either in or you're not. If you finish 4th, you finish 3rd, that doesn't signify anything different, that extra position for the later events down the line and further through the competition. As long as you're in the 4, I mean, technically, Paul, 4th place is equal to 1st place, isn't it, really? It's the same result from this one.
Exactly. All you want to do is secure your ticket through to that grand final. Tomasetto that we're looking on board briefly there. There is car number 8 in position number 8. He's got Farina just ahead of him. Sinotti just behind as well. 3/10, 4/10 of a second of a gap. Looks a lot closer than that one, though, on the screen. It's the ebb and flow of the race, isn't it, Chaz? You're getting into the race. You're getting into the groove of what's happening around you, allowing the car to build up temperature, lose a little bit of weight from the fuel as well, and you'll be stronger or weaker at certain points of the lap and the stint compared to your rivals, and it's managing that as a driver, minimising the mistakes and just snapping up the opportunities when they present themselves, which at Imola are very few and far between.
Yeah, they absolutely are, Paul. You're right. It's not a circuit where overtaking opportunities come around a lot, although there's one, tell you that. Flipping heck, curse of the commentator indeed. Luke Lozio has a poor run out of the Variante Alta chicane, and Lomi moves to his right-hand side. He's going to be on the inside for this little right kink, but he's going to be on the outside for Rivazza. Lozio sticks to the inside. Lomi tries to get some sort of cutback, doesn't quite get the run out of there. At this point now, you just tuck in and get in the slipstream for the run down the start-finish straight, but keep your eye on Romagnoli as well in the orange and blue car in third place, because he's watching all of this unfold in front of him, thinking, easy pickings here, sunshine. Down the not quite straight they go once again here at Imola. Still 53 minutes of the race to go, so not too much to risk at this point. Romagnoli moves to the right-hand side, tries to find a gap. Lomi says, nope, there isn't one.
Yeah, that's some very intense and aggressive racing. That's a signal of intent for our front three drivers. They're not going to be giving any gifts away. Michael Romagnoli coming down that back straight with both feet on the accelerator, trying to find a way past Bonsignore that we're looking at now. Car number 10 in 11th position, 3 wide, pushes the rival Pacazocco onto the grass. Everybody survives on this occasion, but Stefano Bonsignore down in 11th position doesn't want to give any wiggle room to his rivals. You might be asking at home, why fight so hard when you're not in the top 4? It is to level a message to the rest of the field.
Yeah.
Should we meet again in one of the following 3 qualification races, I ain't going to roll over and have my belly rubbed. I'm going to fight for position. And that's a big thing, the psychological game, isn't it, Chaz?
Yeah, definitely. You know, this isn't a usual sort of format championship where you'd just go to each race and have points. You know, there's no sort of playing it safe or thinking, yeah, you know, I can easily finish in 5th. I'll just get this many points for the championship. Good day at the office. You're either in or you're not in each of these races, so you have to take it as a fight or flight reflex sort of race sometimes. And these guys, when they do inevitably meet again, then, yeah, like Paul said, you've got to send the message. They'll remember moments like that. You know, Pacazocco now, when he comes up behind Bonsignore in any other moments, even just in this race alone, he'll know that he is going to go all the way over to the side. I don't think it was too naughty. He wasn't like completely alongside and he squeezed him off the road, but he made sure that there wasn't a car's width for him to stick his nose down the inside, basically. And it is those decisive little moments that can really stick in the mind of your competitors. So the mind game's already, just a couple of laps in, really starting to come to the fore.
Yep, absolutely. Car number 4, position number 5, Canacancini, that we see on the screen at this moment in time. He is the first driver that will not be making it through in the qualification phase should things stay as they are. So he's got a lot of work to do to dig around and try and find an opportunity to close up on Josh Parek ahead, and even better, find a way past, while our top 3 continue to squabble. Luca Lozio is our race leader from the man that we're looking at now, car number 3, position number 2, the red and yellow machine of Marco Lomi. Michael Romagnoli had a little opportunity just a couple of laps ago, but he's now dropped back a couple of tenths of a second, keeping a watching brief. And it's so difficult, Chaz, in this scenario for the likes of Romagnoli. You know there's opportunity out there, but do you take that risk when, as things stand, you're locked in for a qualifying place?
I think sometimes it just depends on how close is the next car behind you, because Romagnoli's in the fortunate position where if he did go for something here, he could still lose a position to just Parek and he'd still be in. The only problem with that is, though, with Parek behind him, Parek has got company with Akinci there in 5th place, so he could lose 2 if he overdoes it. I think at this point, especially with the sort of slipstreaming sections of the circuit down this start-finish straight, Romagnoli sits here, waits to see what Lomi does. If Lomi overdoes it, then he needs to take advantage there and then. If he's just having a little look here and there, you know, just sort of half-baking attempts and not really going for it, then he can just sit behind him easily, you know, take your foot off the gas a bit, just hit your marks in the corners. Oh, well, there's a moment indeed. This is where he needs to take advantage. This is exactly what I was just describing. Lomi over the chicane. Oh, dearie me. He rejoins quite well, actually, but he's in the middle of the corner. But look at that now. Lozio's gone. Lozio absolutely gone up the road. Romagnoli says, thank you very much. He'll have dirty tyres with Lomi, and he has to take it easy for the Villeneuve chicane. And through goes Romagnoli. Now, will Lomi, in anger, come back at him here? That's the thing. Akinci very close to the back of Parek. It's all of a sudden kicked off, Paul, just like we thought it might.
Yeah, and if you're Kanakinchi, this is exactly what you were hoping for. You want drama for other people to get you back in to this fight, into this conversation. Kanakinchi, that we see the back of our shot there, the car squibbling a little bit underneath him, is really pushing as hard as he possibly can. Michael Romagnoli up into second position. This is the man, Marco Lome. His tyres will have cleaned up, but as he got his head in gear, having made that mistake, he'll be furious with himself. He's immediately got to put it to one side and go heavily on the defences. Josh Perec, that we see behind, trying to buy into this one. But if anything, Marco Lome got a good run through the chicane at the top of the hill. He's got a bit of an overlap on Michael Romagnoli behind in front, but not quite enough racetrack to get alongside. Marco Lome has a difficult decision to make, Chaz Draker. Do you attack immediately, or do you make yourself vulnerable to not one, but two, but three cars snapping at your heels behind?
This is the thing, you see. He's not got this chance to reflect on it, go back, watch replays and go, oh yeah, this is what I did here, or oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. He's got to make the decision while still driving in anger, and he's going to be furious at himself for making the mistake, still carrying a little bit of happiness with the fact that he's still in a qualifying position, and like we said before, third place is as good as first at the end of the day, as long as you're in that top four, and he's got Perec behind him now. He'll be looking at the numbers, knowing that Perec is obviously right with him. I don't really need to look at any numbers to know that, because he's going to be filling that rearview mirror, but you may see, if he looks at the numbers, that Kanakinchi has dropped back into the clutches of Bacaglini in that pink and white machine in the background. So if these guys work together here, don't fight too much, they can maybe open up that gap from Akinci again and keep that top four safe amongst themselves.
Yeah, Akinci at this moment in time just doesn't have the pace. It's that last sector, losing 0.6 of a second to the chasing pack. So Akinci under a bit of pressure at this moment in time. Incident between cars 20 and car 5 on lap 2 has been deemed a racing incident. Car 20 being Grillo and car number 5 being Bacaglini that we're looking at in his fight with Akinci. So Bacaglini, a small sigh of relief I am sure will be had as he continues his own pursuit in trying to get in that top 4. But Kanakinchi just ahead is the man currently blocking his way from fighting with Perec, Lome and Romagnoli.
Yeah, it was Grillo around on the exit of turns 1 and 2, wasn't it, at the very first chicane. Tamburello, we saw that he'd bounced off the side of him, so clearly one of them just losing it a little bit, just maybe running a bit wide, and the stewards have determined that it's a racing incident. Shout out to the wonderful stewards and officials behind this, by the way, running all of this. There's a lot of work that goes into making sure this is a well-oiled machine, and the guys have got it absolutely nailed, and it is such a professional outfit. It's great to work with them, and it's just lovely to have these cars on track as well, because they are a delight to look at, they're a delight to listen to. It's just great to be back in doing this again, Paul, isn't it? It seems like forever since the last one, but it's just been just as entertaining in these opening stages.
Yeah, it really has. And in fact, it just needs to be sort of reiterated to our audience at home. If you're joining the broadcast a little bit late, or if you're new to the world of Lamborghini Esports, and of course the real race, Super Trofeo Esports, these are drivers that have qualified through a hot stint competition that you can register on the website. You can go qualify. If you set a time that's within the top 24, you're invited to this race, and then you can go racing, hopefully for you, get a top 4 finishing position, and that will invite you to the final on site at the Jerez circuit, where you can race to be a Lamborghini Automobili Esports official driver. We're going to be going again in a few weeks' time when we're racing at Spa-Francorchamps. The hot stint qualification for that particular event will be open. I'll tell you a little bit later on in the race. So do stay involved, because you could be involved in this one yourself before the year is out.
Absolutely. There's plenty to gain, plenty to enjoy, and we are only just reaching the tip of the iceberg here in the 2024 Lamborghini The Real Race Super Trofeo Esports competition. And Romagnoli is all of a sudden back under pressure once again. Lome is saying, look, I got that second place on merit, I want it back on merit. I may have mucked up a little bit and run wide, but I don't want the score sheet to tell anybody that at all. He looks to the outside line. Romagnoli says no thank you, keeps it on the racing line, doesn't even show Lome a sign of being fazed by that. And that's the thing, isn't it, Paul? Another bit of the mind games coming into play here is that the drivers sometimes will maybe see an attack from a driver behind, they'll have a little look. You've got to show with the body language of the car and sticking to your racing line that you're not fazed by it, haven't you? No chinks in the armour or anything.
Yeah, exactly. And that one little look, the half measure move from Marco Lomi there has really put him under pressure from just Perec behind. Perec in 4th position, of course, very, very close. Not quite as close as Luca Tozzato, though 15th place. He's currently racing with Senatore, 14th and 15th respectively. Luca Tozzato, car number 19, 19th quickest in the hot stint qualification we just spoke about. He's hoping for a strong showing, get some experience, enjoy himself, race against some of his rivals, and hopefully he'll come back again when we start hot stint qualifying on the 5th of June for the Spa-Francorchamps round, as Marco Lomi is still having his car painted to the back of Romagnoli until the second I say that, Chaz, he completely messes with the chicane and dropped back hand over fist.
Oh, the commentator's curse is such a wonderful thing to possess, isn't it, Paul? You're so good at it. It's as easy as that, everybody. Just to say someone's doing well or getting close, and that's what happens. You can influence the race. But no, you're absolutely right. I'm surprised the front of that red machine is not actually just painted black at this point from the scorch marks off the back of Romagnoli's exhaust, because these Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2s are quite the fire breathers sometimes. Not so much in the sim. They don't really emphasise it as much, but we've both seen them in real life, Paul, and it's honestly like there's a dragon underneath the boot of those things. You see a little bit of a pop and bang there from Akinchi's car, but this is, it shows you how lively these things are, doesn't it, from this onboard camera. It's a very stiff camera, so you can see how much the car moves around and bobbles about on the surface, very stiff, but at the same time, a great car for body language, isn't it? You know, we talk about GT3 cars, GT4s, but this sort of its own, how would you say, it's almost like its own homologation, isn't it, the Super Trofeo? It's not quite GT3 pace, it's not quite GT4 pace, it's sort of it bridges the middle, but it shows so much body language. This car moves about a lot. You get an idea when drivers are pushing.
Oh yeah, it's not one of those cars that hides its light under a bushel, is it? You know exactly what it's wanting to do, exactly what the driver's trying to do. It's such a spectacular, it's a visual treat in sim, as I'm sure you all agree watching at home, but also in real life as well. It's such an emotive, it's such a dramatic experience to see one of these flat chats on a racetrack, and Bacaglini seems to be a little bit more aggressive than most at this moment in time. We saw a potential challenge from Khan in front, trying to close up. He's dropping back now, so Bacaglini really needs to clear Akinchi's head if he wants to get up with this particular fight, currently headed by Michael Romagnoli in 2nd position. Luca Lozio is completely gone at the front of the field, but it's Romagnoli, Lomi and Perec that are currently the ones under pressure, and if Akinchi and Bagliani get past, or so get up to them, it could be a 4-way fight for the qualifying spot.
Yeah, that's the thing. We were on board, weren't we, with Bacaglini a moment ago, chasing down Akinchi, and it looked like he was really pushing to get by him, but at the same time, he was probably just hoping to give him the hurry up and say, look, just catch up with those other guys up there, because if we fight now, all we're going to do is cost ourselves time for no reason. We're the two that can spearhead the rest of the field up to those important 4 qualifying positions. You need to get us back up there, and it's the lead car's job really, and Akinchi is the one carrying that weight on his shoulders right now, so these guys can fight all they want. I don't think Lomi's actually at this point going to push too hard now to get past Romagnoli. He'll be all over him to send the message and hopefully force him into a mistake, but I don't think he's going to overdo it in trying to make a move here. He's realised by now that Romagnoli is quick enough to hold his own, and it's just going to be one of those, similar to what Romagnoli did to him. You know, he's only going to go through if the opportunity presents itself.
I would thoroughly agree with you, but Michael Romagnoli needs to stop monstering those curves, run a little bit deep, and that's cost him for the run up to the chicane. Does well, though, to get a good launch out of the chicane, and it is Michael Romagnoli's to lose this 2nd position at this moment in time. Marco Lomi has been around long enough. He'll know exactly the kind of driver Michael Romagnoli is. He'll know exactly what he needs to do to deliver the result. Akinchi down in 5th position. Last time around is a half a second slower than this leading pack, so Akinchi doesn't quite have the pace to really get on terms with these top 4 drivers, and that's going to be a cause for concern for the likes of Bacaglini and everybody else, Brian Farina, Tomasetto, Sinotti. They know that this race is starting to fall away from them a little bit in terms of qualification. And I've got a feeling, Chaz, this might open the door to a little bit of silliness. Or not necessarily silliness, but controlled aggression because you're running out of opportunities. If it's dripping out of your hands, you may as well do something outside the box.
Yeah, that's it. You know, you have to be able to catch your competitors off guard. That's the thing. We're going to talk about the mental games a lot throughout this competition because there is such a black and white, you're in or you're not. You know, it's very, very cutthroat racing. And that's what makes it so exciting. You know, these drivers, like I said before, they're not sat around going, oh, well, you know, 6th place is enough for the championship. That gives me good points for the next one. You either finish 4th and you get through, or you finish 5th in this race, and all the time that you've put in, all the qualifying, it means nothing, and it doesn't change anything for the next event either. So these drivers really do have to switch it on, and even if you're within that top 4, you know that you're then going to race these guys again later in the competition. So even then, you can still send a message, and that's what Lomi has the chance to do here, and so too does Romagnoli.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. Of course, getting through is one thing, but also putting a mental marker against your rivals. If you can beat somebody before you even get on the racetrack, that is so, so important. And Marco Lomi, he knows he's the man on the back foot. He's the one that made the mistake. He's the one that gave away second position to Romagnoli. So Lomi will be very keen to address that issue. Luca Lozio, the front of the field, will be very keen for the checkered flag because he's essentially just hot lapping now all the way through. He was quickest in the qualification phase. He was quickest in the short qualification session that we had before this race. And at this moment in time, all you've got to do is bang, 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 keep putting those laps in like we know he can.
Yeah, definitely. I think, to be fair as well, one thing we haven't discussed is the fact that the tyres and the fuel will be simulated in this event as well. You know, you've got to manage the car and look after it over the course of this race. It's something we saw last season, wasn't it? There were certain drivers that they adapted to the car really well. They either looked after it in the early stages really well and the tyres were decent at the end to still be able to push. The tyres are very durable on these things. They can do an hour very easily, but you still feel that effect of them going away from you. Whereas we did see some drivers that really went for it in the first 5 minutes to try and open up a gap while the field was close together. And then in the later stages, they faded away. They didn't have as much to fight with, did they?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And of course, these are the Super Trofeo cars, the Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2. So it's not necessarily a car that many of these drivers have driven week in, week out like you would in a GT3, which is the more common vehicle for esports competitions, both professional and amateur, around the globe. So there is a little bit of I'm not quite 100% the master of my own destiny in one of these cars, and there is a little bit of I've not done millions of 1 hour races and know exactly what the car is capable and how it's going to progress over a stint. And that element of sort of a little bit of doubt creeping into the back of the mind as to what exactly will this feel like in 10 minutes time? Have I got what I need underneath me to attack or defend? That's going to be in the back of the drivers' minds. And someone like Marco Lomi, that again we see picture in picture there, who's on the attack big time, in fact has to come off the throttle slightly to avoid connecting with Romagnoli's rear. For Lomi, he's going to need that doubt. He's going to leverage that doubt, isn't he, into pressurising Romagnoli ahead.
Yeah, you've just got to unnerve your competitors one move at a time, really, one corner at a time. If you can really catch them over one braking zone every single lap, eventually the driver in front will realise that you are doing so. You know, it's not always the driver behind that closes up and goes, oh, I know I'm a little bit quicker than him into that corner there, or a little bit better on the exit here. The driver in front feels it just as much as well. You know, it's very much a two-way street. So at this moment, Romagnoli will see there's parts of the track where Lomi can definitely get him. I mean, he looked fantastic through Acqua Minerale there, did Lomi. Really stuck with him on the exit. And you can see, look, he moves over to the right that little bit to say, I might defend, I might not. And then Romagnoli sort of glides back over to the left-hand side. And then Lomi decides to, no, I'm going to tuck back in here. So there's a bit of will they, won't they going on at this stage. It's very entertaining to watch, though.
Yep, absolutely. A 5-second time penalty for car number 22 for causing a collision. That's Pacazocco, currently running down in 12th place at this moment in time. So that's not going to affect our overall top 4 results. But Pacazocco, again, will have to dig deep and fire himself back up for Spa-Francorchamps. It's a name that we've seen in this competition throughout the course of 2023. Pacazocco, we know he's fast. He just needs to put it all together. And a 10-second time penalty for car number 7. That's Doppio down in 16th. And that's for causing a collision between himself and car number 19, on lap 11, car number 19, of course, is Tazzato, that's currently at the back of the field.
Yeah, it's a shame, but at the end of the day, these drivers have to be squeaky clean all the way through, and it's great that the stewards are so on it. You know, they really are switched on to all of this. It's wonderful to have live steward in an event like this, because at the end of the day, there's more riding on it as well. You know, you wouldn't want a driver to, with no disrespect to any of them, you wouldn't want a driver to make it through if they're a little bit clumsy or a little bit messy and they get through because of incidents with other drivers, you know, and they're right on the edge of what's acceptable. Because at the end of the day, let's remember that the main prize here that all these drivers are chasing is a spot in the Lamborghini Squadra Corsa Esports team. So, you know, they wouldn't want a driver to come through and win it by being a messy driver and making contact with everybody, would they? We saw there was an example last season of a driver that had a rejoin or a bit of retaliation at certain points. You know, the driving standards I must highlight were 99% absolutely phenomenal last season. But there was a little bit of a temper flare at certain points, wasn't there, Paul? And as a team, you would see that and go, well, we don't want him in our team. You know, you have to be squeaky clean throughout, don't you?
Absolutely. We want personalities, but we also want ultra professionalism from these drivers. Michael Romagnoli even. Let's put my teeth in. It took me 3 years to work out how to pronounce it. Yeah, I'm just making new pronunciations up. Luckily, Michael is doing a damn sight better job behind the wheel than I am in the commentary box. He's holding on to that second position. But the point I was about to make, Chaz, Marco Lomi monstering the curbs. He does not look like a man that's content to settle for third position as we're about to hit the second half of this race, does he?
No, I take back everything I said about 2 laps ago. It looks like he's absolutely climbing all. I'm surprised that Lambo's got a wing on the back of it right now with the way he's just having a go. It is absolutely bonkers how close he is. He's really, really sticking with him at this moment. It's fantastic to watch, though. Great dueling between the pair of them here at Imola. You can see the Lamborghini Squadra Corsa socials at the bottom of your screen there. Make sure you do follow Lamborghini in any way that you can on socials. Keep up to date with the competition as well and when we're next going to be going live and all of the goings-on behind the scenes here in this fantastic, fantastic series. And as we say all this, Paul, slight gap there from Romagnoli, but I feel like Lomi he's better over the second half of the lap here. Romagnoli's a little bit tidier in the first sector.
I also think there's a little bit of strategy as well here. If you are Marco Lomi, drop back a little bit, make Romagnoli think what's happening, and then show Romagnoli just how easy you can close that gap up to the car behind. Start filling the mirrors again. Just give him something to think about. Keep him guessing. Keep Michael Romagnoli on his tippy toes. We've seen, with the greatest respect in the world to Michael Romagnoli, he does have a mistake in him when the heat's on. We've seen him make a few key errors over the years, and that will be something that Marco Lomi will be hoping to leverage over the course of this last 31 minutes. Romagnoli, for his own part, though, is massively at reducing those errors each and every time we see him on the racetrack. So maybe this is the year that the Italian driver puts it all together once and for all. But Marco Lomi again shows the nose down into Tamburello. Does that unsettle Romagnoli? Not quite. Number 6, very well planted. A good run, though, coming into the next braking zone. This is a big opportunity now for Marco Lomi. He's going to paint himself to the back of that Lamborghini Huracan Evo and see if he can just pressure. All he needs, Chaz, is a couple of inches later for Romagnoli on the brakes, and then the chance is there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's definitely going to be certain corners of the circuit where he'd prefer to get the move done. I don't think the Villeneuve chicane would have been good because regardless of whether you get the move done in there, it's very compromising for both drivers involved. There's certain corners on the circuit where you can get away with it. You can go down the inside, still take a decent line, or even go around the outside and use the momentum to get the run on the exit. But there's certain places of this track where you don't really want to overtake. Don't get me wrong, you'll go for it if the opportunity comes to you, but there are places here where it's certainly preferable because you can lose less time in the long run. Just Perec, by the way, doing a great job in 4th place. Let's not forget about him in car number 2. He's right on the money at this moment in time. He's only 1.2 seconds off these guys, so it's not like he's been falling backwards or anything. Akinci is still in 5th place. He's got rid of Bacaglini at this stage, but not catching up enough to this man here, Just Perec, the Estonian driver as well, actually. I believe the highest placed non-Italian driver in the field. So great for Just Perec to be repping the Estonians in this series. But these two are the stars of the moment, really. I mean, Luca Losio, sure, he's absolutely battering this race at the moment. He's doing a great job. He's extended the gap to 2.5 seconds. But Romagnoli and Marco Lomi are providing colossal entertainment here. Some people will look at this and go, yeah, but they're not swapping places, Chaz. What are you on about? They don't have to be, do they, Paul? You and I have watched so many great races where it's just down to the chase like this. I mean, your own hero, Nigel Mansell, chasing Senna, 1992. There wasn't a position change. But what a fantastic, fantastic race that was. Epic entertainment, and that's what it's all about.
And that's it, it's the thrill of what may happen. It's the strategy as well, because anybody who sort of knows their racing, not just esports, but real racing or whatever, they know exactly what these drivers are going through in their mind. The strategy, they're pushing to the absolute limit. There's not a tenth of a second left on the table in this little fight, and they're separated on occasion by mere millimetres from each other, just trying to work each other out, look for a kink in the armour of the driver in front or behind as Romagnoli gets a little bit squirrely again on the loud pedal, a little bit over aggressive on the curb as well. That's going to compromise him. He recognises his compromise, goes to the inside initially to discourage Marco Lomi from making an overtake. Nobody passes in that chicane unless they want to go say hello to some scenery. But Michael Romagnoli starting to feel a little bit more ragged than the controlled first half of the race, and that will be music to the ears of Marco Lomi behind.
Let's not forget as well, I say this with confidence, but I may be corrected in
first
10 minutes.
Mistake there, Chaz.
Yeah, you ready? Yeah. These guys have access to change the setup on these cars. You know, the car underneath is the same machine as a base machine, but they do change the setups on the cars to what suits them. There may be some of them that are more aggressive on the tyres over the course of the run. There may be some where they have to mess about with the brake bias a little bit more. I've noticed that Romagnoli's car seems to move around a lot more on the brakes, and mid-corner it is pretty sharp, but it's in the braking zones where he seems to be a little bit more, not out of control as such, but you can see a bit more body language emerging from that car. It's having a bit of a wobble. It's a bit more hesitant to turn in. Lomi looks a lot smoother in the way that he goes about these chicanes as well. So I'm wondering whether the setup differences for these two drivers, based on their own preferences, is what could change this fight come the end of the race. Still 27 minutes to go. Time flies when you're having fun though, Paul. Half an hour already gone into the second half of the race. And these guys, well, they're just getting more and more feisty as it goes on.
Yep, absolutely fantastic stuff. And a big shout out to everybody watching on the Lamborghini Quadricorsa YouTube channel as well. Wonderful to have you with us during this opening broadcast of the season for the Lamborghini The Real Race Super Trofeo Esports. Feel free to drop a little message in chat, say hello, give us a like, and of course subscribe as well on the Lamborghini Quadricorsa channel. Any questions for Chaz and I, pop them in that chat and we will try our very best to get to those and answer them as best as we can. Of course, that's assuming that this Marco Lomi and Michael Romagnoli battle calms down a little over the last 26 minutes. Lomi has dropped a few car lengths back from Romagnoli. We've seen this previously. We know that Lomi can dig deep and close that gap back down again. Although I dare say nobody can close the gap to Luca Losio, who's running away with things at the front of the field. 2.5 seconds to the good with 21 laps on the books.
Yeah, it's absolutely awesome performance this by Luca Losio. Car 1, position 1, in round 1. It doesn't get much sweeter than this, to be honest with you. And like you said before, Paul, it's like he's hot lapping. You know, he's just continuing on from the practice and the qualifying that he's been doing. He's been so tidy. Had to fight for it a little bit in the opening stages, but that's the best thing about it, is that he did have to have that scrap. You know, he's not had it easy all the way through this. He still had to defend that little bit from Lomi, who has then sort of hindered himself a bit and fallen behind Romagnoli. So it's been a bit easier since then for Luca Losio, but I mean, let's not forget, let's not take anything away from him. He's still got to put these blistering laps in faster than everybody else in this race, and he's just managing it to perfection at this stage.
Yeah, it really is a very, very professional performance from our current race leader, Marco Lomi, though, that we're looking at now. Car number 3, position number 3. Small matter of Michael Romagnoli seems to be making a little bit of a gap for himself in second position. Is this down to a suboptimal lap time from Lomi, or are we now starting to see the pace come out from Michael Romagnoli ahead? This will be fascinating to watch over the next few laps. Good exit from the chicane for both drivers. Just in the background, Jos Parek is the last of our drivers that are currently looking to progress their ticket through to the European regional finals at the Jerez circuit in November, part of the Lamborghini World Finals. Great opportunity for each and every one of these drivers to be a part of that festival of all things Lamborghini. And I tell you something now, if you don't drool when you're walking around there is something wrong.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's all very sharp angles and pointy bits, isn't it? It's all
Yes,
very
don't walk into anything accidentally, because not only will it be expensive, it will also hurt.
Yeah, absolutely will. It really will. I'll tell you what, there's nothing soft and cuddly about these Huracan Evo 2 Super Trofeo cars. They are glorious to look at, but they are razor sharp, just like the drivers behind the wheels. It is great to watch it. Really, really great. I was looking at the sector times on that previous lap, actually, Paul, and I don't think it was anything to do with the first sector from Lomi. I think it was just genuinely the end of the last lap. He had a bit of a wobble and fell away, but look how quickly he's gotten rid of that gap again, right behind Romagnoli again now. Last time they broke any of the beams, it was less than 0.3 of a second, which is about 4 inches in these cars, because they are absolutely on it. And you can see he's just glued to the back of him. The thing you need to be careful of, though, as we mentioned a while ago, is that the front end of this car really does swoop down so low, really doorstop style. And the back end of the car, it's low to the ground, but based on where the actual main bodywork of the car is, it's actually quite high up. So you can really sort of snow plow the back of these cars if you hit the front, you hit the back of one of them. So when it comes to contact, it's not just a case of biffing the other driver out of the way if you're not careful, but it's also the fact you could lift up the rear wheels and really properly spin them out. It's not just going to put them in a straight line. So you have to be very respectful when you're chasing closely, in any motorsport, but in these cars in particular, they're easily unsettled like that. And again, there's just a slight difference in the gap there as Romagnoli starts to move away a little bit. It's starting to ebb and flow a bit more here.
Yeah, it really is, and this is going to be fascinating to see how the likes of Marco Lomi can cope with this ebbing and flowing of the pace. Is this strategic? Is he wanting to put Romagnoli into a different scenario? For 30 plus minutes, he's been glued to the back of the Lamborghini ahead. Romagnoli's taken that pressure, soaked it up like a sponge, not shown any kind of kinks in the armour. So now, is it time for Marco Lomi to do something a little bit different? Drop back. Take the pressure off, which often, Chaz, I'm sure you'll agree with me, when the pressure's removed is when you start to make mistakes because you think, got some breathing space, got a time to come outside of my zone, and then suddenly you've slipped out of your routine and then it all goes wrong. So Lomi, I think now, is trying to execute all of the tools that he has in his armoury that don't risk his car against the back or the side of Romagnoli's, and that's wise driving from Marco Lomi if that is indeed the case. Just trying minimal risk things that may upset the routine of the car ahead to see if an opportunity can then be crowbarred in. Yeah,
absolutely. It could just be a case of, look, I'm third. I've got 2 seconds to Perec. I don't need to be all over the back of this guy. The circuit like this as well, you need to be able to see apexes and exits. If you are sat right behind the car in front, it's literally just a rolling roadblock at that point. It is stopping you seeing some of your brake markers, some of your apexes, especially on these chicanes that are also important. Track limits are not kind to you here at Imola. Lomi's got a little bit closer again this time round, but you're absolutely right. The complacency can set in for the car ahead here. Romagnoli could easily see him fall away and think, oh, I've got this, easy, sorted, thanks. And then, you think, oh, I'm just going to run a little bit wide at the chicane here, clout the curb, and that's it. That could have been what happened with Lomi earlier on. He saw that Lozio was opening up a gap a bit, and he thought, right, okay, we'll settle in, I'm second. Overdid it, and because he was focusing on what was going on behind him instead. You never know what these drivers are thinking at certain points of the race. I know what David Kolocaj is thinking right now, though, and he's thinking, get out of the way, please, Farina. But he looks to the right-hand side. Farina says no, and the Hungarian driver has to settle for it for now. Yes, it's a Hungarian flag. It's not just an Italian flag that's fallen over. As side-by-side, Cinotti tries it round the outside at the first chicane on Tomasetto. And to be fair, I would have said that move was on there. Maybe Tomasetto just ran a little bit wide. The two cars bounced off each other, but nothing serious. He continues on.
Yep, always the danger when you're on the outside is to run out of real estate very quickly indeed, and that is exactly what happened. But no harm, no foul. All drivers still continue. Kolocaj, that we're looking at in 8th position at this moment in time. Farina is the name just ahead. And will the number 18, big mover actually, 18th in the hot stint qualification process, so very close to being in that zone where you won't make it through. But he's making very, very good progress over the course of this live broadcast. Qualified a little bit further down the running order, but good work to move up into 8th position overall, although any kind of curb usage like that will limit your forward progression somewhat quickly, as Farina has another couple of car lengths in front, as again Marco Lomi is again glued to the back of Michael Romagnoli, and once again the Italian driver Romagnoli withstands the pressure and gives absolutely no indication that he's going to leave a Lamborghini-sized hole in which Marco Lome can slide on down.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't give away any free opportunities either, because that alone through the rest of the competition will eat away at you. You know, you'll just think, what if I hadn't have done that? What if I had have done this? You know, you can't go into another round worrying about that. You have to be so confident, so committed with everything you do here. But it's so tough as a driver, you know, to have all this pressure on you, such a massive reward available at the end of a championship and an event like this. You've just got to sometimes put it to the back of your mind. You forget why you're racing and think, look, I've done this enough times now, let's just do it again. You know, these drivers are not only just talented in general, but talented with the fact that they've done so many laps of circuits like this. They've put so much time into perfecting and honing their craft that they can just, if you could, you know, it'd be so lovely, wouldn't it, Paul, to be able to do it in generic everyday life, to be fair. But if you could just take away some of the sort of worries of why you're doing something or what the result of doing something would be, and just say, look, I'm just going to drive for a bit, you know, and oh look, I've ended up in a Lamborghini Esports team, you know, no big deal.
Yeah,
it'd be great if they could remove that, wouldn't it?
It wouldn't be a bad one, but that's what separates the good from the great, is their ability to withstand that pressure. And I'm just hearing in our ear that we're going to have a look at some replays in a few moments of some of the dramas that have unfolded over the course of the first 40 minutes or so of this race. There's 17 minutes, 58 seconds left to run. Luca Lozio from Michael Romagnoli, Marco Lome and Just Perec are our top four as we go back, Chaz, to the start of the race.
Yeah, it was a lovely start as well. Lome got a really good run actually around the outside. You don't often see it here at Imola because of how it curves round to the left. It sort of takes away the severity of a run. There was contact in the middle there actually, wasn't there? I was just trying to pick up, I think it wasn't Akinci, was it, that was involved in that? I think it was Bagaglini. And then into the chicane the first time. Oh, dearie me. Car around there, big time, and into the barrier. I didn't quite catch which number that was. Was that the number 11? It was Lucas Capera that went in way too hot, just clipped another car on the brakes. A little bit more contact. Is this the 20 that we're going to see around, actually? We saw this earlier, didn't we? No, it's the number 10 machine, actually, making a lovely overtake. There is the number 20 around in the background, which was Jacopo Grillo. This is how he did that. Yeah, just tiny little bit wide. That's all it was, actually, wasn't it? Just a tiny little bit wide over the curb there, and it was the number 5 machine making that great move down the inside. That was awesome from Leonardo Baccaglini. There's been some fantastic overtakes, to be fair here, Paul, but it's unfortunately for the drivers not positions that have made it up into the top 4.
Yeah, exactly, and it's so difficult to pass here at Imola, that very much so, especially with quite big cars like this one, you can run a little bit close. That was a mistake that we saw a little bit earlier on that lost Luca Lozio that second position, so close to Luca Lozio race leader. That was Marco Lome that lost second position. That opened the door to Romagnoli. Romagnoli did not need a second invitation. He took that second position and is holding on with both hands in that position for the podiums at the moment, second and third. Doesn't really matter which way you finish as long as you're inside the top 4. And then Matteo Sinotti, that we're looking at in 10th position, had his own dramas in the opening few skirmishes of this field, but currently holds on to 10th place and fancies very much the 9th position from Tomasetto. Has the inside line, spots his braking nicely, runs very, very deep, and Tomasetto says, thank you very much, that was a bit rookie, I'll take that one back, and you can deal with Bonsignori behind.
That was a big old send, that, from Shinotti. Really, really threw that one down the inside. He had to go for it, though. At the end of the day, it's all about sending that message. Like we said before, Paul, you've got to just send the mental games onto the board early. And Bonsignore now sat behind him, has that 5-second penalty lingering over him just up the road. This is David Colocci having a great old scrap here with Francesco Farina. The two of them really throwing everything at the circuit and at the scenery as well, as Colocci just dips his right rear wheel in the gravel on the exit of Tamburello through the Villeneuve chicane. The cars are soaking up the curbs really well, aren't they, actually? We mentioned before, the car does sometimes look a little bit soft. You know, it looks a little bit more bouncy than your everyday GT or GT3 car, I should say. But they really do absorb the car. Come on, Chaz. They do absorb the curbs well for a mid-engined, low-slung car like this, don't they?
Yeah, they really do, which is absolutely, you said it at the top of the broadcast, it's ideal for this sort of circuit. Kolochai still trying to find a way past Farina ahead. And Farina, I was just about to praise him, he's made a mistake and gone deep, so there's a commentator's curse. But yeah, preemptive commentator's curse. He does have the line covered though. Will he be late enough on the brakes? Farina in the silver machine decides that chicane is my friend sideways, and he just about holds on. I was about to say Farina's a name I don't recognise in the world of esports. Francesco Farina anyway, Giuseppe I know all about. But Francesco Farina is having such a good mistake-free race if you completely ignore the lap that they're on this moment in time. But the drama's all good fun anyway. Kolochai saw all that one and thought, how on earth have you stayed on the racetrack? And more to the point, how the hell are you still in front of me?
As our producer Steve has just said, if you ignore the mistakes, he's not made any mistakes. It's brilliant.
That's a Murray Walker moment, that one, isn't it? No mistakes apart from the big error.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the car except that it's on fire. Francesco Farina, though, that was some Dukes of Hazzard stuff over that curb. He was completely sideways, full opposite lock, sending it in. Jumped over the curb, sparks everywhere, bouncing off Kolochai's car. That was really, really exciting to watch. That was fantastic. How he didn't get any sort of penalty or track limits warning for that, I do not know. But it was, I mean, well, we could say he was lucky, but of course, Francesco would tell us that it was just well calculated, wouldn't he?
95% of skill is fortune, and I think Farina was very, very skillful, shall we say, through that corner. But what's the important thing to take away from me is that's a man who ain't giving up that 7th position no matter what. And I absolutely love to see that kind of commitment and passion and just pure faith. The car will eventually stick, but hopefully before you hit the barrier. And it worked on this occasion.
Yeah, to be fair, Paul, I think that sums up pretty much all of my sim racing in the past, actually. Just hope that the car sticks at some point before I hit a wall. It's not often the case, and usually the fleshy bit behind the wheel's given up. But still, there's no no giving up from any of these boys here, though. Lomi, car 3, P3 at the moment, holds the fastest lap of the race, and that is another one of those little mental advantages that he's going to have over his competitors. He's got the bragging rights to say, look, I've been quick here. We're into the gorgeous golden hour here at Imola. You can see the sun setting as well. The sky has a hint of pink about it, actually. Forget golden. I think I'm going colourblind. But it's going pink in the background there. It looks absolutely beautiful behind the trees. And this battle's still going on. And this, again, is just great to watch because these guys, they're not in a battle for the final spot to get through into the next round or to get through in any form. They're just fighting for bragging rights at this point, and they're still throwing everything and the kitchen sink at it.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful stuff. Mistake there from Farina. That's going to slow him down for the run into the chicane. Kolochai tries to stay around the outside, which will become the inside. Not enough room on that occasion. Kolochai, very intelligent actually, to back out of that one. He knows he's got the advantage. He knows he's got Farina against the ropes at this stage. 11 minutes and 36 seconds. Plenty of racing still to go. Sonati a little bit further back, holding on just about to 10th position, but Bonsignore behind. Fancies his chances. There is the silver and black machine of Stefano Bonsignore, not quite able to get in contention at this moment in time, but a few more mistakes like that one and it will be door open round the outside. Stefano Bonsignore, can he hold on? Is he given the racing room that he deserves? He does just about stay side by side, just for the run up to the chicane.
That was amazing racing by both drivers. Hats off to Sonati as well because he kept the inside line, but he also didn't run wide into Bonsignore. They gave each other the room. They're still doing it through the chicane as well. Oh, Bonsignore just bounces over the curb. That was completely not on him, really. He just bounced over the curb that tiny bit. They were trying to give each other all the room in the world, and all of a sudden, Sonati finds himself under pressure now from Pacazocco in car 22. But what epic racing that was for just a moment there. For 10th and 11th position. Still, nothing riding on those places at all, but bragging rights. And they were throwing the Lamborghinis at each other. Kolochai now is past Farina as they cross the line, but that may very quickly change as Farina gets into the slipstream now. Suddenly, it's coming alive even. It's like a big second wind here, Paul. This is fantastic.
Yeah, brilliant stuff all the way through the death as
Farina
has the outside, then the inside. Farina in car number 9, holding on to this one. A little bit of a kiss, door handle to door handle. If you've still got your wing mirror, you're not racing hard enough. And Farina says, have that position, David, and I'll take it back. That's absolutely fantastic from Francesco Farina, and the end result is he's back into 7th place. Beautiful stuff, Chaz.
And that was great respect from Kolotchai as well. There were so many moments there where he could have tried to just squeeze him out a bit and come over on the right-hand side or even on the left eventually, and he didn't. You know, that was really good respect. They know who's watching this. They know how important this is. Even if they're not battling for places that get them through into another round of the series, they know that every battle they have that we show here on the broadcast, if they're getting the airtime, they need to behave themselves. And that was epic stuff. What a move by Farina, though. Incredible commitment. Kolotchai defended that till the cows came home, but that was just beautiful racing. And that's what we're here for, isn't it, Paul? It's those moments, you know. There may be hints down the line where, if I don't know, even in years to come, if they go through a different route of selecting drivers, for example, they can look back at examples of things like that and go, oh, do you remember when this guy did that? That looked amazing, you know. He's a good one to watch. It's just getting your name on the board like that and showing what you can do, isn't it?
Yeah, for you and I, and for everybody watching at home, this is a race where we're looking who finishes where and who gets through. For everybody that's not in that top four, this is the most exciting shop window you will ever see. This is about, as you say, Chaz, putting your name up in lights, showing yourself not just to Lamborghini, but showing yourself to the whole virtual esport racing world. Hello, look at me. I'm a pretty tasty driver. If you've got an opportunity, I might be there for a piece of it, as David Kolotchai again wants a piece of that position. But Farina again says, I'm having some good fun. Let's continue this for about 8 more minutes and then go away because I want 7th. And Francesco Farina still has that position, car number 9, by the skin of his teeth after he's fresh from the dentist, holds on to 7th place.
It's just great battling. This is absolutely, you know, these guys are throwing these cars at each other, but somehow without knocking them into each other. It's just excellent. Tomasetto's not too far behind this either. Looks gorgeous in that black and green livery, actually, this car. It looks great in all of them, but there's always going to be certain colour schemes in these championships that we enjoy more than others, and the black and green example there is beautiful. A little bit wide there from Francesco Farina. Just dives down the hill and keeps it tidy for there, but all it takes is for one little moment where the tyres just... You lose that bit of confidence in what the tyres give you, don't you, Paul, through corners like this, especially here at Imola. There's so many high-speed corners, big commitment bends as well, where if you do lose that confidence in the tyres, the next few corners are going to be so painful. Bit of a wobble there from Kolotchai. I'm thinking that the tyres are starting to go off for some of these guys here, and it's really starting to pay dividends to some of them that have looked after them in the early stages.
Yeah, I can completely agree with that one. We saw Farina on board a little bit picture-in-picture as well. Just how hard he was working behind the wheel to keep that car on the racetrack. Marco Sonotte, that we're looking in 11th position. Car number 14, he's on a bit of a charge as well, considering the dramas he experienced just a couple of laps ago. Bonsignori has the place, but will be serving a 5-second penalty. That will be added to his race time. So Sonotte might be 11th on track, but he will take that 10th position if things stay exactly as they are at the checkered flag. Sonotte not too concerned with that one, though, because he fancies the position on the track as well, just for good measure, as Kolotchai versus Farina round 462 continues, and Farina once again, boat-like in his defence, making that wide car even wider still to prevent David Kolotchai from getting an opportunity up the inside.
I thought you were going to say round 4, Paul, and when you continued on to say 462 and went way overboard with the exaggeration, I loved it. Absolutely.
It's not far from true. If you do tot it up, I bet we're still easy in double figures. Easy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I love it. Absolutely, because this is what it's all about. It's about excess right now. These drivers are thinking, right, we're not fighting for those positions. Let's just show the world what we can do. Like you said, very, very aptly, name up in lights as well. And we are almost racing under lights right now as well, as it's 9 p.m. in the sim here at the wonderful Imola. It is a great place to start this campaign in the homeland of Lamborghini, of course. And these guys are demonstrating these virtual machines to their finest capabilities. Great lap times still coming in from these guys as well, it has to be said. You know, the pace is unbelievable out there, but it's just not enough to get them through at this stage. So they're using this almost as a bit of a consolation with the fact that they'll still get some great racing. We've spoken to a few of the drivers before, actually, haven't we, Paul, where, you know, you could finish 15th, and as long as you still have a good race out of it, some of these drivers come away from it absolutely buzzing.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to put a good account of yourself. David Kolotchai, once again, this time, is a little bit earlier out of the slipstream. He's got a bit more of an overlap. He commanded that outside line for the rundown into Tamburello. Farina doesn't fancy giving it up, though. Be very careful on the curves. Nicely done for Francesco Farina. Nicely done for David Colocci as well. And then behind, Tomasato thinking, this looks like a whole barrel of fun. I think I'm going to have a piece of this one as well. The green and black machine very firmly into the fight as well. Colocci looking forwards, looking backwards, looking up and down. Doesn't know what day of the week it is, but all he does know is he's got a fight on his hands in his last 4.5 minutes of this race.
I can't believe that we're only 4.5 minutes from the end. It's felt like we've only done about 4.5 minutes, to be fair. It's just been so action-packed.
Race does not feel like this when you commentate them. It's always the sprints that go fast.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Well, we've not got to the unhinged bit yet, where we start talking about what we're drinking and all sorts. It just doesn't. You don't get a chance here in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, the real race Super Trofeo Esports Championship, I should say. It's just so exciting all the way through. And still, I honestly, I'm not that much of a betting man, to be fair, Paul. I would have put money on these two at least swapping places twice since we came back to them, but they've not. Lomi is still sat there in third place, and he doesn't need to do anything extra. He can sit there and happily go through to the next round. As we pointed out, him getting second place from Romagnoli will not change anything. He will still be through, Romagnoli will still be through, and the two of them can give each other a GG and a nod and a well done, mate, and they can move on to the next round.
Yeah, absolutely. Both incredibly fast drivers, both really good guys as well. It's good to see their fight continue as we've seen Colocci once again closing up on Farina. Farina's been in this position before. He knows what to expect. He's going to have the inside line covered. Colocci much later on this occasion to the outside line. Tries to think, I wonder if a switchback's possible. Farina has that one covered, slows the car down in the middle of the corner, but he's made a mistake. Now Farina is vulnerable. Now Colocci has a new opportunity to the inside. They're going to go side by side. Colocci, though, using some racing nous, doesn't force the issue, has a look to the outside line. Farina will be very cautious on the brakes, make sure he gives the number 18 the racing room. Colocci, though, runs very deep indeed. Tomasetto decides, now's my moment to strike, and David Colocci, I think that's the last we've seen of that particular fight for the duration of this race.
Yeah, it's just been put to bed there, unfortunately, but still, it's been epic to watch all the way through. And I mean, there could be another phase of it yet, though, as Tomasetto is trying his best now to reignite another battle between himself. Colocci is going to need a lie down and a stiff drink after this one, because he's been battling so hard all the way through this race. And this is the thing, though, as a driver, it shapes you as a character, doesn't it? You know, you can have those races where, sure, you don't make it through, but you can still have a fantastic time and really get your mettle tested throughout the entire race. There's some drivers that will come away with this, they'll have had a lonely race, not had to fight anybody. Some of them, it's like they've been through 18 rounds with a T-Rex by the time they've finished. You know, they'll come away battered and bruised, but some of them will enjoy that because they know that it is shaping the character and it's driver development.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. Anything that every time you go onto a racetrack, real or virtual, you're learning, you're taking something away, you're helping develop your own particular skill set for your benefit. Hopefully you come back stronger in future competitions. While we're looking at this particular fight for 5th and 6th position, I want to give a big shout out to not just AK Esports and Mosa Racing that help us deliver this championship for Lamborghini. Of course, this is the Lamborghini The Real Race Super Trofeo Esports, but all the boys and girls behind the scenes. We've already mentioned it, courtesy of Chaz. We've got a great stewarding team, race direction team, Steve up there in the broadcast box, but there, broadcast box even, bringing you these pictures, and of course the people at home that help make this journey as special as it is, and the drivers that participate as well. It's a true privilege, Chaz, to be a part of this championship again this year, and I think we're going to get stronger and stronger as the season progresses.
Yeah, definitely. And this is, you know, by now it's a very well-rounded product, not just in terms of the racing, but in terms of the broadcasting too. It's always very professional and we enjoy being a part of it. It's an absolute honour to be a part of it. It's going to be a fantastic campaign already. We're only just at the tip of the iceberg, like I say. And Luca Lozio, well, he's at the tip of the iceberg. That is the final lap here, Paul, as he crosses the line. 35 laps completed now. His race lead has now grown to 3.7 seconds. So he's not blitzed Romagnoli and Lomi, but to be fair, he's done an excellent job to still keep extending that gap. He's not taken his foot off the gas once.
Yeah, that's super impressive. 35 laps in the books for Luca Lozio at the front of the field. Did the job off of the line. Never really challenged after we got through the first sector of the lap here at Imola. And it's so difficult as a driver. You think it might be easy watching at home. You think, well, I can drive around Imola without crashing for 35 laps. You can't at the pace that sunshine's going at. And that is really, really impressive, Chaz. It's the final lap. Not really talked about him, not really seen him. And as a driver wanting to book slots into competitions, that's exactly the position you want to be in, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. As a driver, sometimes, sure, you may not have the most exciting race in the world, but when it comes to a competition like this, if you have what we call a no news is good news race, you will take that any day of the week. No dramas, no spills, no extra bits added on that you have to worry about. You just get the job done. You turn up, you do your laps, and you get the reward from it as well. And Luca Losio is going to absolutely revel in the opportunity to move forward in this competition. He has shown us exactly what he's got. He's put all of his cards on the table here, and it has just been a dominant performance.
Superb stuff. Gabriele Bassi heads down pit lane, so he's ejected from this race in the lower reaches of the top 20. Shame that we couldn't see him all the way through to the checkered flag. But Luca Losio, we're going to watch our race leader now power out through the final corner for the final time. A flash of the lights. The checkered flag is his for the taking. Luca Losio in the first race of the year for the Lamborghini of the real race. Super Trofeo Esports takes the checkered flag, and with it, victory and qualification to the European Grand Finale in dominant fashion from Michael Romagnoli, Marco Lome and Just Perec, rounding out our qualified drivers in what was a cracking opening encounter of the year.
Absolutely excellent stuff, and it's worth noting as well, the top 6 drivers in the race were all the top 6 qualifiers from the hot laps as well. Cars 1 through 6 finished there in this race. David Colocci, like I say, he's going to need a lie down after that one. He finishes in 8th place with Tomasetto just behind him. Bonsignore, car 10, P10 for him. Good stuff, though, from Colocci, actually, because, as I mentioned, with the seeding of those numbers, he qualified 18th in the hot laps to get here, but he actually finished well inside the top 10. It shows you, doesn't it, Paul, that on the night, drivers' performances can be different to how it is when they're just hot lapping on their own.
Oh yeah, could not agree more. That's where the performance really, the difference between the good, the great and the outstanding is how you deliver on your marks when the heat is on, when it matters the most. And Colocci, really impressive drive. The respect between himself and Farina in 7th and 8th was heartwarming to see. This is heartwarming as well as our top four circulate together for our official photography team to capture some snaps of that in action. And I will say, Chaz, we've seen, how do I put this, varying qualities in some of these races last year. Some have been incredible, some have been incredible for entirely different ways, but that was absolutely beautiful racing all the way through, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You spot on with the honesty. There were some times last season where we knew that certain drivers just had it locked down. They had what we call a no news good news race, where they were in the position to do it. They weren't going to risk anything. And we were going, go on, just, send it down the inside. And like, no, there was none of that. They were very controlled, very cool, calm and collected. But in that race there, everybody was fighting for everything. Even positions down to like 15th and 16th, they were throwing the kitchen sink at each other. And that's what it's all about. It's proving a point. Even if you're not in those top 4 positions, you have to just show your mettle here and get on with the job at hand. And there's so many drivers in there that I'm really excited to see back again, hopefully, in the next rounds of the campaign. But our top 4 are through. And well, they've started the campaign off in the best possible way.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Anybody who's watching at home on our YouTube channel, drop a message. Tell us who you think the driver of the race was, and Chaz and I will pretend to agree and then complain about it off camera. But really, really fabulous stuff. And just remember as well, we're going to speak to our winner in a few moments' time. But just remember at home, if you've got a Assetto Corsa Competizione, you've got the appropriate DLC that gives you a Super Trofeo car, do yourself a favour. We're going to be opening qualifying up on the 5th of June, I think it is. Let's have a look now, make sure I'm right on that one. Yes, 11 o'clock CEST on the 5th of June to 10 CEST on the 17th of June. Hot lap competition, Spa-Francorchamps. Register, sign up. If you're in the top 24, then you can come here and you can fight for your place in the Grand Finale. As you've just seen, it's a whole lot of fun, even if you don't make the top 4, and you could get yourself in the shop window for bigger and better things, or even into the Grand Finale and part of the Automobili Lamborghini Esports team. What's not to like? Why not do it? Apart from being slow like Chaz and I.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, there's a reason we're commentators and not drivers, isn't there, Paul? Let's admit
100%.
that. But at the same time, though, even if you wanted to just give it a go for yourself, even if it's not something that you've raced in before and a car that you haven't driven in the sim before, at the end of the day, you're going to be driving a Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo car at Spa-Francorchamps. Why would you not want to spend a couple of hours doing that at least, just to see where you're at with it? You know, because it is a riot of a car. You've all seen them tonight. They're pointy, beautiful. They are aggressive cars to drive. They make a great racket, and they provide excellent racing as a one-make championship.
Yeah, could not agree more. Real and virtual, doesn't matter. They're both absolutely awesome. And
They
I
are.
hope we do see you all watching at home. Hope we do see you all on the leaderboards. Like Chaz says, even if you don't think you've got a chance of getting in the top 24, it's just great to see where you stack up against your fellow competition fans. So it really is very little effort required. Go out there and have some fun, and hopefully you can enrich the broadcast next time around. But let's just go back to this particular race, though. Let's go back to that race-winning drive from Luca Lozio. It was just not putting a foot wrong, Chaz, all the way through. This is the big risk factor. This is off the start. Lozio had pole position. He knew he was quick. He knew he was fast through the qualification process. And then for that run down into T1, this is where it can all go wrong. Very aggressive to shut the line off as well from the chasing pack. So Lozio immediately came into this knowing that he's the king around this circuit, not afraid to defend his position. These are the sorts of dramas that we see on lap one. A little bit of brain fade towards the back of the field. Stupidity sometimes comes in all shapes and forms, and on that occasion, it happened at the top of the hill. We also saw plenty of fighting further down the field as well, even though it's not the qualification places. That's a good pass for the number 10 to make his way up the order as we see a car stranded at the side of the racetrack. And this, Chaz, we see this so many times at a circuit like this one. Just real poor fortune on that occasion.
Yeah, Jacopo Grillo there, just getting caught out by the momentum shift from left to right in a chicane. And it happens a lot here at Imola. There's a lot of chicanes and very twisty parts of the circuit. Another battle here between the 22 and the 24 of Pacazocco and Senatore. Senatore just losing out because of a tiny bit of contact there. Didn't lose all the ground in the world, though, and there is one of the race-changing moments, actually. Marco Lomi going too deep into the first chicane. In my eyes, does the right thing, though. Goes straight over the gravel, doesn't try to rejoin on the apex of turn 2 and cause a massive issue for eventual second-place finisher Michael Romagnoli, and the two of them had a great battle throughout the rest of the race. But yeah, you were right, though, in terms of Luca Lozio on the first corner, just closing off that gap, because there are certain drivers that, even though it's lap 1 of race 1 of this competition, there are drivers that they wouldn't let you get away with that, and they would keep their nose down the inside. And it was a big risk. Absolutely right, Paul, but he took the risk, and that's what sort of shows you the bravery of some of these drivers, as we see some of them getting it a little bit wrong into Tamburello, but also, taking those risks.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we love to see. No, nothing ventured, nothing gained is the old saying, isn't it? And often you've got to take those risks to try and get yourself some kind of advantage. And that's exactly what we've seen during the course of this race. We're looking at another quick replay now. This was one of the best fights that we saw for a long time. Through into the chicane, made it clear. Very rare that you see an overtaking manoeuvre on that part of the Imola circuit. But on that occasion, a successful endeavour. Guarantee it won't happen again, though. So it's a one-off.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, it's another sign of just what the respect is like in this championship between the drivers. There was so many of them tonight, leaving each other so much room for manoeuvres as well. There was so much respect on the circuit, and that's what's the best thing about it. Sometimes you can get frustrated if someone's trying to overtake you and just try and squeeze them out a bit, maybe just overstep the mark slightly. But the driving standards tonight have been excellent. There was a little bit of shenanigans on the first lap, but everybody's really eager to prove a point on lap 1. The field is at its closest together, at its most sort of compact, let's say, so it's easier to gain multiple places on the first lap rather than just 1 or 2 here and there. So you can excuse it in a way sometimes. We've all seen motorsport long enough now. We know that lap 1 is the key area for dramas, but there was just just praising the driving standards tonight. The battles were fierce, but there was no silliness. There was nothing where we went, oh, I don't like that, because you and I, we don't shy away from any of that up here in the commentary box, Paul, when we don't like it, but we didn't have to play that card tonight. That was fantastic to watch.
Yeah, it really was. And I think respect is probably the biggest takeaway that I've got from this week, this race, this evening. Perfect example would be the P2 fight that we had when we saw the mistake from Lomi going off and then coming alongside and Romagnoli trying to make the pass. There was no, I've made a mistake, throw the door, bang the door handle. Racing room was given. Respect was given both from Romagnoli's side, but also from Lomi as well. And I absolutely love to see that, Chaz. I absolutely love to see that mutual respect. And let's remember, if these guys are going to see each other on site in the grand final, it's going to be physically located together. So I know Michael Romagnoli. He's a big fella. He's got a punch on him, I can imagine. So you want to give him respect. He's a good lad, is Michael Romagnoli.
You don't want to get lamped by him at all.
No, you really don't. You know about it, but it's good to see that. I love that respect amongst the drivers, and that's the kind of thing that we're looking for as a series.
Yeah, definitely. And at the end of the day, in the heat of the moment like that, when you're trying to recover from an incident or, you're frustrated at making a mistake, it is easy to overreact and just not think as clearly in that moment and lose your head. But a lot of the drivers just kept their heads on tonight. And one that certainly did that is our overall race winner, who's going to join Paul now for an interview. Luca Losio is here, Paul.
Luca, welcome to the virtual commentary box. And first and foremost, a massive congratulations, sir, on what was pretty much a dominant drive. How are you feeling?
Hi, all guys. Yeah. The race went very well, and I don't know. The key point was to start from the pole and manage the tires for most of the race. All here.
So, Luca, you were quickest during the qualification phase to get yourself into this competition. Does that carry an expectation and a pressure coming into this race, and how difficult was it to deliver this performance with that kind of pressure associated with it?
Yeah, I immediately found the feeling, and after all day of training, I felt very good on track, and I did the lap time very well.
Talk to me about the start of the race. We saw a really strong challenge from Marco Lomi behind, coming down into Tamburello. How difficult was that to manage? How much nerves did you have at that stage as the race leader, pole sitter?
Yeah, the start, I managed to get off to a good start, and it wasn't very difficult, but Lomi pressed me for, I think, 10, 20 minutes, and with the flu is not a good idea.
Well, my last question then, Luke, so you can get yourself a well-earned rest. Just what does it mean to you to have won this first qualification race and to have secured your place in the final for Lamborghini in the real race, Super Trofeo Esports?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Luca, we can hear.
Okay. Yeah, it means a lot, especially because Lamborghini is like one of the most beautiful cars I want. But especially go to Jerez in November. I want to see all of people there that they qualified.
Well, Luca Losio, we cannot wait to see you in November. And from everybody here and everybody at home as well, congratulations. That was a fantastic drive and a very well-deserved victory. Well done.
Thank you very much. Can't wait to see you in November.
Superb stuff. That is our race winner then from the first qualification race of the year in the 2024 Lamborghini The Real Race Super Trofeo Esports. And Chaz, like every esports driver that we ever talk to, just as cool and as calm as it comes. I've won. Job done. Move on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was going to say. He was so in control, not just on the circuit, but just with his emotions there as well. He's got the job done, like you say. And that's exactly what you can expect from these drivers. They are so well switched on. They've really got their heads screwed on properly. And you have to have that to be able to absorb the pressure. I said it at the start of the broadcast, and I'm going to say it until the cows come home. But the pressure of just this series and what you could get from it as well, the reward at the end of it, how quick all the drivers are, it's just amazing. It really is. And the fact that they can all just absorb that and put in a performance like Luca did tonight, excellent stuff.
Yeah, really is sensational. And remember, folks at home, as I say, the qualification opens for the next race on the 5th of the 6th at 11 CEST in Assetto Corsa Competizione. You can get in there, set a time, and hopefully come racing with us next time around. And we are racing next time around indeed at Spa-Francorchamps, and we will be taking part in the 20th of June. Live, as always, Chaz and I. And Spa, an incredible circuit. I'm sure you will agree, Chaz Draycott. That's going to be an absolute cracking event.
Oh, it really will be. Yeah, there's so many great slipstreaming opportunities and overtaking opportunities at Spa. Very different to Imola, actually, because Imola is very much a one-line circuit in a lot of places. Spa is just overtaking opportunity over after. Oh no, I got it wrong. Overtaking opportunity after overtaking opportunity. It really is. There's so many places on that track to just get a little send down the inside, and it's a much wider track as well. I think that's one of the main key characteristics of the place. There's a lot of heavy braking zones, and these cars, they will be very well suited to it as well. Spa really is a GT car circuit, I feel. It's become synonymous with GT racing over its time. So I'm really, really hyped for that one. We had a great event there last time as well. We could barely remember where to look at most points because there was so much going on. So yeah, I really welcome the next round of the championship. And as Paul's rightly mentioned, get yourself involved, throw yourself at this as well. There's a reason that we don't, and it's the fact that we're both slow as anything, but you never know where you could end up on the leaderboards. Just give it a try. Enjoy yourself in the car as well. It's a riot. It really is a riot to drive. And we hope to see you on circuit next time round.
Yeah, beautifully put. And on those wise words from my man Chaz Draycott, I want to thank everybody involved for this broadcast. Thank you to AK Esports. Thank you to Mosa Racing. To everybody behind the scenes, to all the drivers, to everybody watching at home, to the legend that is the legend that is Chaz Draycott. And from us all, much love. Until next time, thank you for watching and goodbye.